protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. For these public hearings, the board reviews the correspondence submitted in support of and opposition to these cases. The board also reviews correspondence and recommendations from other government agencies in preparation for the hearings. In today's hearings, staff will present the site plans, maps, photographs, and other documents that comprise the case record. At the conclusion of the staff presentation, the appellant will present his or her case to the board. After the appellant's presentation, if anyone is here wishing to speak in support of the appeal, they may do so. If any opposition is present, the board will then hear from those parties. After the opposition presents its testimony, the appellant will have a period for rebuttal. According to the BZA rules, the appellant has 5 minutes for presentation if no opposition is present. In contested cases, the BZA rules allow 10 minutes for each side to present testimony. Should the appellant wish to provide rebuttal testimony, the appellant should reserve some portion of the allotted 10 minutes. At the conclusion of each hearing, the board will deliberate and then vote on that case. The board is vested by the power to act on these cases under the provisions of Metro Zoning Code Section 1740-180. All section numbers that we refer to come from the Metro Zoning Code, which applies to the entire jurisdiction of the metropolitan government. The zoning code was adopted by the Metro Council and became effective on January 1st, 1998. I will introduce the entire zoning code and make it part of today's record. The Metro Code requires a record of these proceedings. Because BZA meetings are recorded for the Metro Nashville network, it is imperative that anyone addressing the board come forward to the podium and speak into the microphone. All speakers should identify themselves by name and address and then make their desired presentation. The Metro Code requires 4 members of our 7-member board to establish quorum. The code also requires at least 4 affirmative votes to grant an appeal. In the event that 5 or more members are present, but the appeal fails to receive 4 affirmative votes, the case will remain on the board's agenda for the next 30 days. Applications that fail to receive 4 affirmative votes within 30 days of the public hearing shall be deemed denied by operation of law. Pursuant to board rules, an aggrieved party may appeal board decisions to Chancery or Circuit Court within 60 days of the entry of the BZA order. Additionally, as per the BZA rules, an aggrieved party may file a motion for rehearing by the BZA within 60 days of the original hearing date. After that time elapses, the board's decision becomes final and no further action can be taken. If your appeal is granted, you're required to obtain the permit for which you applied. A permit must be obtained within 2 years for a board approval to remain valid. It should also be noted that if any false or misleading testimony is presented to the board, any board approval could be revoked at a later time by means of a show cause hearing before the BZA. Mr. Chairman, I submit that all cases have been filed in proper order, all appellants have been notified by certified mail, and all legal notice requirements have been fulfilled.
Great, thank you. And would like to take a quick second to welcome our newest member for his first in-person meeting, Mr. Joseph Cole. Welcome. Thank you for serving on the board. We really appreciate that. And to announcements.
We do have some preliminary announcements regarding deferrals and withdrawals. Case 2021-052 at 7236 Old Burkett Road and 6944 Nolensville Pike has been deferred to the May 6th meeting. Case 2021-053 at 4028 Tucker Road has been deferred indefinitely. And case 2021-055 located at 915 Coffee Street has been withdrawn. Mr. Chairman, we're now ready to proceed with the cases to be heard.
Great, thank you.
The first case is case 2021-051, located at 1219 11th Avenue North. They're requesting a variance from a 10-foot rear setback, which was granted on a previous order, Order 2019-230 in May of 2019. They're requesting a 2-foot rear setback variance to construct a single-family residence within the R6A zoning district. Here's an overview of the zoning showing the existing parcel, an aerial view of the property, the proposed site plan with the requested 2-foot rear setback, the existing conditions of the property, and the surrounding areas. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 2021-051? Seeing none, the appellant will please present your name, address, and present your case.
Oh yeah, James Crockett. My address is 224 Foxley Court, Nolensville, Tennessee.
All right, yeah, and if you would just tell us why you're here, and I know you were here before, and if you would tell us what the change is from the original plan that this board approved and what you're trying to do.
So this is actually the original plan. When I was here last time, Mr. Taylor actually brought up that because the interstate cut through my yard, the backyard, several years ago, he stated that I was able to go back as far as I could. But when I was talking to the other people, they said it wasn't put into motion. That's why I'm here again. I went to go pull my building permit, and they basically said I didn't know the technicalities of it had to go into a motion or whatnot. So I'm here. I have the reference. I would look back at the YouTube video, and it says it, but it like they said, it wasn't put into a motion.
Okay, so whatever, basically what you have shown on the screen here is what you're trying to do. And I don't remember the garage before, and I'll take your word for it because we hear a lot of cases, but basically the garage is, that one corner is 2 foot off, and is the back line, is there a fence there? Is it one of those interstate cement fences, or is it further away from you?
It's a fence there right now.
Okay, and at that 2 foot?
That's
so
correct.
You're going to be 2 feet from the fence that go into the interstate?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, and the garage was present on when I came the first time.
Okay, and then you did have, I think you do show on one of these drawings, the front setback, which I think was already approved.
That's correct.
And how that really puts you in line with a lot of the houses that are on the street.
That's correct.
Okay.
And the garage actually was approved too by MDHA and you all at that time. The neighborhood, I met with the neighborhood, and they just asked me to put it on that side versus I had it on the other side at first.
Okay, that may be what it was. It may have been closer to the...
That's correct. It was on this side. They said they just wanted, if somebody was driving in, they couldn't just see the garage right away.
Okay. So in response to the neighborhood, you flipped the plan.
That's correct. And that's why we got closer to the back over there in that corner, because we flipped it.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board? Okay. Did you have anything else to add?
No, not about this, no.
Okay. All right, then we'll close the public hearing and discuss.
Well, I think the hardship is very clear, and I remember the case, not all the details of the case, but I remember when it was heard, and I do think the hardship is clear that the interstate took some of the land, or some of the land was given for the interstate, and that created the hardship. So I would be willing to make a motion to approve the variance request at the rear.
There's a motion, and
A second.
there's a second. Is there any other discussion? So the motion is to approve the variance as presented. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye, raise your hand. Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Good luck. Thank you. Next case.
The next case is case 2021-056, located at 1201 Jefferson Street. They're requesting a special exception from the front setback, rear setback, height, and height control plane requirements within the CS and Jefferson Street redevelopment districts. They're proposing to construct a multifamily 4-story residential building. Here's an overview of the existing parcel. Overview of the surrounding areas. Here is their proposed site plan. The proposed renderings of the elevations, the existing conditions of the site, and the surrounding areas. Is anyone here in opposition to case 2021-056? Seeing none, I'd like...
Yes. My name is
Sir, if you're in opposition, just raise your hand and you'll... All right, so we'll give you a chance to speak. Anybody that's in opposition will have... Now that there's someone that's for it and someone against it, every side will get 10 minutes. And so the way it works is the applicant will have their 10 minutes, and then you'll have, when you're called up, but we just needed to make sure that we knew there was opposition present to tell us how much time there was. So we'll call you up in just a little bit. And your time is collective, so if there are two folks that oppose it, you get 10 minutes total to talk on each side.
The appellant may now state your name, address, and present your case.
If you would press the button on the mic and make sure the red light's on. It's down, there you go.
Good afternoon, members of the board, Chairman Taylor. My name is John Rankin. My address is 1709 Woodland Street in Nashville. Also would like to invite the property owner up here with me if I could. Mr. Copeland, would you mind coming up? If that's okay, I'd like to have him up here with me. If you look at our current, the reason we're here, if you look at our current footprint that's available to build, it's about 2 foot by 8 feet. And so what we've done with Mr. Copeland is work together to try to figure out something that would go on this property that would be a minimal footprint, especially given the fact that the property actually sets back off of Jefferson Street compared to the 1709. It's interesting that it already steps back 20 feet from the right-of-way compared to the buildings as they go down the street. We also read the planning staff's recommendation. We also know that in the North Nashville Community Plan for Jefferson Street, it says clearly on shallow properties, build 2 lines that bring buildings up to the back edge of the sidewalk and reduce parking spaces where appropriate may help create additional area to build upon.
So I'm sorry, so you said that you saw the recommendation. Do you agree with the recommendation?
Yes.
That if this is approved, you'll build sidewalks and grass strips to the major collector street standard?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and then how far are you, the building is proposed to be 2 feet from the property line. How far exactly is that at the closest point to Jefferson Street?
It's 22 feet 9 inches to Jefferson Street itself, which is a ways. If you look at 1209, just up the street, it's right on the sidewalk. The building's right on the sidewalk. And if you look at the buildings going down 12th, some are 3 to 5 feet. So what we've tried to do is find a way to sort of fit this in a nice way, but not any further closer than anyone else. And just by the way Jefferson Street offsets between 1209 and 1207, it automatically creates that distance. In fact, that's all grass and trees between Jefferson Street and our property line. Currently, now Mr. Copeland has some vacuum cleaners there and an ice machine. And he's tried for many, many years to try to do something with that property. I think at one point you did key cutting and some stuff like that. But he's offered it, and we're trying to do something creative with it, and we do need some variances to get that done.
So I guess I see the setback, the front setback, and maybe even the rear, and I don't think you're asking for a side setback, but the setbacks I understand. The height is one that I'm not sure I understand in terms of why you would need a special exception to go higher than the code on this property. So could you help me understand
Yes.
that?
Yes. First, we went before MDHA in March 16th with our concept plan. Everything you see here, it was unanimously approved. What we were looking, obviously in the planning staff's recommendation, they also said that it's appropriate to have the height between 3 and 5 stories along Jefferson Street. What we looked at is, if you actually look at this footprint, what we're given even now, asking for these variances is 1,200 feet. So in order to get 2-bedroom units, we're having to go up half of the top story, if that makes sense. So in order to, because there it is, just the front of that top story is a bedroom in order to get the 2nd bedroom in. The ground level is parking, it's garage. So we've had to, the 2nd floor is living and kitchen, and then the 3rd floor is 2 bedrooms. And for number 3, which is C, and it's 1 bedroom for the A and B. So what we're trying to do is just get a livable unit, given the fact that our actual footprint, even after our variances, is so small.
And are these meant to be rental units? Are you selling them? Are they
These are
short-term rentals or what?
These are sales, condominium sales. That's what we do. Do you have anything to add, Mr. Copeland? It's our turn.
No, not really, unless the board want me to say something
Okay.
in regards specific matters.
Okay. Anything else to add at this point?
Not at this time.
Are there any questions from the board? Okay, our timekeeper will, Jessica, how much time is left? 7 minutes. Okay. So you have 7 minutes plus for rebuttal, and we will, if you all will leave the table, and we'll ask anybody that's opposed to this plan to come up and state their name and address and tell us why they're opposed to this plan.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lavelle Glanton. I am a property holder adjacent to 1201. I own property 1207 Jefferson Street. I have a spokesman here that I would like to articulate my position. This is Isaac Barr. My home address is 712 Princeton Hills Drive, Brentwood, Tennessee.
My name is Isaac Okori Barr, and I live at 501 Castlegate Drive in Nashville, Tennessee. I look at that property. My background, I'm a general contractor. I'm an architect by education. I've worked for the Metro Coast before as a plans examiner, and I worked for 33 years for the state of Tennessee, also as a plans examiner and a construction specialist. It looks to me like way back in 79, when these, 83, when these construction started downtown in the central business district areas, we got away from the fire protection issues when it comes to residential construction. What scared me most when I look at this property, that little property with 4-story apartment condos out there, how are we going to fight fire? And in that area, there's a little alley that you don't have the 60-foot clearance for fire trucks to come around. And then secondly, the way Nashville is building buildings right next to each other, you're supposed to have fire protection. It looks like that's been completely ignored. That's why these condos are right next to each other. If you build on the 0 lot line, you got a problem. If there's fire, it's going to throw it to the next property and that. So I think you need to look at this very carefully and don't encourage the same problems that we have created. And we have created a lot in Nashville. So keep public safety first, keep fire protection first, and a little property like that should not be developed. That's my say.
Other questions?
So your primary opposition to this property is because of fire suppression, fire protection issues?
That's the main one, yeah.
Okay.
It scares me. I've seen a lot of houses and condos built lately.
Sure.
And I wonder why you have those windows on the property lines from one unit to another.
If that issue was addressed by the developer of this adjacent property, would that change your opposition to the case?
It might, but really 4 stories is a little bit too steep for that corner.
Okay.
I know that Jefferson Street's got a setback that you can view, but on the adjoining street, you don't have that.
Uh-huh. So really it's the fire protection and then the 4-story are kind of two oppositions you have to it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Other questions for these folks? All right, did you all have anything else to add at this point?
No.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for coming out.
Maybe traffic right there. You know, the traffic is right there on the corner.
That's why I said that this
Anything else?
No,
Yep.
sir, I don't think so.
I did address the visual impact in that corner.
Right.
And the reason I said that is because of the traffic flow.
Okay. Yeah, so you'd mentioned fire safety and then the height of the
Height
building
and the traffic.
coming in off of 12th Avenue North, going to Jefferson Street is visibility.
Yes.
And then, okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. Appreciate it.
All right, and we'll hear back from the applicant.
Mr. Chairman, I heard a couple things, as we all did. Our building, because it's 4 stories, is be fully sprinklered and with a fire alarm. If it was a 3-story building, there would be no sprinkler system. I'm certain that can be confirmed. And just because we added that extra bedroom on the 4th story means we'll be fully sprinklered with a fire alarm. And I think that's critical on all things we do, obviously. And we also have full aerial access here. There are no power lines along Jefferson on our side or on 12th Avenue North. So not only will we meet those requirements in front of Mr. Allman's department, but we will actually be sprinklering it fully because it's 4 stories. I would also like to bring up that we had a community meeting for this property on 4/6, on April 6th. 8 people came. The pastor of Pleasant Green Baptist Church, 2 of his deacons, several members of the community, and the woman that owns the property across the street from us on Jefferson. Everyone there was, in favor and very happy to see something done with that corner. And Mr. Glanton was not there, but I'm glad to hear. And I've taken a lot of phone calls from people saying, what can be done across the street, what can be done down the street. And I certainly would welcome Mr. Glanton's concerns, but to answer that, we will be fully sprinklered with full aerial access for this building. And just to remind everyone, we did have a good community meeting here for over an hour on the 6th. And any other questions you may have?
I do. I have some questions. One is that it's filed under a special exception, and to get the height control plane waiver that you're asking for, the penetration of the height control plane, which I saw in your drawings, and it's minimal. But in order for us to grant that, we need to understand how that doesn't affect the pedestrian experience, and also how it doesn't impede the neighboring properties and their ability to have light and air on their properties. And there's probably a little bit more to that than I'm stating off the top of my head, but can you address those issues?
Right, well, I think from what I understand, from talking to MDHA and to the planning staff, the property right behind it on 12th that you see the outline, that's MULA. They can go up to 60 feet there by right. And so we certainly wouldn't be blocking their view. And then 1205, 1207, and 1209 Jefferson Street, that's, first of all, for now, 1205 and 1207 is a parking lot. MDHA was not, this is why what my discussion with MDHA was, because you're set already 20 feet back from Jefferson, if you were to go, if it was a piece of property that was normal and your property was right up against Jefferson, you're so far back from what the normal control plane would be that it's its own step back, essentially. It's a very strange parcel. I think if you look at the first slide, which is the Metro parcel viewer, it'll give you good context of the whole block. Somehow that piece of property is stepped back from what the normal line would be, that solid line towards Jefferson Street. And it becomes a situation where we're so far back, if you drew a control plane up on where a property line would normally be on Jefferson Street, we'd be nowhere near it. And so all we're doing is, we're trying to have a 2-bedroom unit, and I think that's the reason for the 4th story. It's also nice to have a deck out back up there. But the pedestrian experience for that piece of property particularly, and of course it's a unique piece of property, and that's why we're here. because it's missing that entire front on it between that number 60 and then the solid line at Jefferson Street. That's grass, that's trees, that's green area. That's how we get our pedestrian connection we don't lose it by going up that fourth story because we're stepped so far back. It's a rare piece of property to see that situation. I believe, just from my research, that there was a time when the interstate may have wanted to design an overpass there or an on-ramp. And so that was left off of the front and then ended up being essentially metro property now. And so that exists, and that's why uniquely, if we go up to 4 stories, that we would be nowhere near the height control plane where it would normally be on Jefferson Street. And that's why I think it's different.
And you said these are meant to be sold as condos, or are they, I guess, short-term rental eligible?
I assume they are in CS, yes. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Do you plan on them ending up being short-term rentals, or is that up to the owners? And
we never do short-term rentals, ever.
You just sell them to folks that do short-term rentals, right?
Well, it could be. You could sell a unit to someone who does short-term rentals. You can't stop them from that, I don't think. Yes.
I mean, once you sell it, they do.
They can do whatever they want, right? Even the third buyer could, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Anything else to add at this point?
No, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. We will close the public hearing and discuss. Thoughts from the board?
Well, I think I can see the hardship of that very narrow lot. I think it is a special exception case, so we actually don't have to find a hardship. So, but there is a hardship there. So I don't think it's an inappropriate request. The planning department was in favor of it with the conditions of the sidewalk being built to the MCSP. So I would vote in favor of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say when I first saw the case and understanding it a little bit better, I get a clearer picture. But my first response was, is this? And I'm going to get the quote wrong from our fellow commissioner, but is this a horse and course issue? Where it's a course that's not meant for all horses, and that it felt really tall. The planning department, his recommendation was that it be approved as long as they improve the sidewalks up to the full Collector Street standard, which they have the right. There's enough city right of way to do, and I think I appreciate that. I think it'll improve that corner. The 4 stories bothers me, but with the MUL behind it, I don't think it's necessarily out of place. It's nice to have, the residences. I worry a little bit about it just turning into a commercial enterprise with Airbnb, which I don't think, in my opinion, again, that's just my opinion, that may not be the best solution for that piece of property, but that may not be what we're here to talk about. But that may be a condition I was thinking through. But anyway, you heard me think aloud, and others can think aloud now.
I'll just add about the fact that the structure will be fully sprinklered with a fire alarm, and that's triggered by the 4 stories. So I'll add that as a positive.
Well, and they're not asking for a side setback. So I mean, they're asking for a front and rear setback, and I understand that. The front setback concerns in my mind are negated by how far it sits back from the street, and it's not unusual to have a 5-foot rear setback in narrow lots. Again, where you have an alley, you're not 5 feet from your neighbor's property line, you're 5 feet from the alley, and so the setback request, I think, again, if even measuring it on a hardship basis, which I think is a higher standard than the special exception, I think the setback issue meets the hardship, and certainly would therefore, in my mind, meet the special exception criteria. To me, I'm still kind of thinking through, well, the height, and then are there restrictions or conditions that we would consider? So, other folks?
I do think it meets the conditions too. I do have some concerns about us approving something that very quickly becomes commoditized and strictly commercial because it's Airbnb. I think it's a small piece of property. I think we need more housing, especially in the urban core, and I think that I'm okay with the special exception. I do, when the Airbnb issue was brought up, that did give me some concern about what is this ultimately going to look like in a year or 2 years from now. I don't know that we've done that before, that we restricted, approved a special exception and with the condition that it can't be Airbnb, and I don't even know.
I think that's happened, and in particular, now it was not raised necessarily as an issue. It tends to be a condition when neighbors ask for it and the applicant agrees, but it's certainly been a condition that we've placed on I don't know how often, but I know we have done that before. Is there, from our code staff, issues with that as a condition?
It's one of the things where if you were going to apply it as a condition, it would be very important, I think, to state on the record the rationale pertaining to this particular development. Case in point, if you thought that the quasi-commercial nature of a short-term rental property with multiple units being used as such drove traffic patterns in a different way or created other parking or other natural features of the land situations that somehow differentiated that use from regular residential use like an apartment building or a smaller condo building, then that would probably be something that's totally defensible. My concern would be that it's effectively taking away something that is a right under the zoning code in conjunction with an approval of the relief sought here with the kind of straightforward board case and the bulk regs associated with it. It doesn't mean you can't. I think it would be a fine line to walk, and I believe that you have remembered correctly, Mr. Chairman, that the limited number of instances where that sort of thing has been considered has been very pointedly when it was brought up by neighbors or other concerned opponents of a case and agreed upon then by the appellants. Here, we certainly haven't identified a correlation between prospective short-term rental use and the relief sought today, other than just a little more convenience on that height to get the number of units that they're allowed to get and the massing associated with that. But also because it does represent potentially a very different outcome for the appellant and the clients that they represent. Of course, it would be very appropriate to defer a case if that consideration were being made so that they would have an opportunity to consult with their clients and make sure how they wanted to proceed. Again, a question you didn't ask, but that could become pertinent.
Okay, and if it becomes something that, I don't know how everybody's leaning and on that, so let's hear some more from folks, and if we want to ask that question, we can if we choose to. Are there anybody else want?
Well, first, can you hear me? Chairman, I really appreciate you remembering that I say that. I do think when I looked through our packet, I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking, is this horse made for this course? This is a very small piece of land, and they're putting a lot on it. But I agree with the wisdom of our architects, and I thought that it did meet the special exception. I was concerned about the height plane. I know that it was slight, but if you think about this area in the context, if this was a 3-story building and they needed it, I probably wouldn't even think about it. But once you go up that extra story, I do think it changes how a street feels as you're walking by it. And I understand the zoning behind it, but it's not that height yet. And I know we have to be prospective and think ahead, but I don't know, I just think it's a balance. And so I was a little concerned about the height, but I'm still listening and I'm still kind of grappling with it. But that was an issue that I thought about.
Frankly, I'm struggling with that too. The setbacks, I think that even if it was a variance and not a special exception, I think I see hardships there, and, a special exception is, for the height plan, again, like you said, I think if it was 3 stories, I don't think we'd be talking about it. But I'm still listening on this. I'm still trying to figure it out in my own brain. But it does seem like it's a little bit kind of strange massing for the site, especially kind of moving away from the interstate where you have no tall buildings along there. And I know it's moving into that kind of urban core, but it could be kind of a step thing per the kind of the codes there. So I'm still listening, but I'm trying to kind of work through that in my own mind as well. And also, I mean, I know that the applicant made a mention about having 2-bedroom units, and that's certainly understandable. But I'm looking at this site and thinking, is it appropriate for 3 units on this side versus 3 2-bedroom units versus 2 2-bedroom units? You could do 2 2-bedrooms probably in that 3-story kind of realm. So I'm still working through it in my brain. I'm listening to other people at this point.
And I just wanted to add, thank you, Mr. Newton, for saying that, because I thought about that too, because I was like, well, did you think about an alternative design? It's sort of like, I'm not saying that they don't deserve some relief here. I definitely am on board with relief, but it just seems like some of the requests that they're asking is because of the design and what they're trying to put on this piece of land, rather than still getting density into Mr. Pepper's point, needing housing, on board with all of that. But I don't know, it just seems like aggressive. It seems really aggressive. And so I'm still listening, and I'm not saying that I wouldn't vote for it, but I'm just still grappling, and I'm glad that Mr. Newton made that point.
Anybody else?
Kind of interested in hearing the thoughts from our other architect on the board here. I mean, he's being awful quiet over
That's
there.
what happens when you get to the in-person meeting, you get put on the spot. They can stare you down. You can't stare you down when we're on the phone, but.
So, I do agree that it does seem aggressive, especially with the 4 stories. Especially on Jefferson Street, there are a few buildings that are in that 3-story realm. Most are 2-story. And I understand that the adjacent building, Plan South, can go up to 60 feet. But, it seems like this type of structure is crowding the site, and it's towering over the adjacent properties.
Did you have any issue or thoughts on the front and rear setback piece of it? Were your concerns more height or the setback too?
Not with the rear, especially considering we have an alleyway. But is there a building on 1207 Jefferson Street, or is it vacant? It's vacant. Okay.
Yeah, I think that he said that this property and 1207 both had that. Yeah, and Lisa, go back to, I guess, the property map. That one. So that's where I guess it's just both 1207 and 1205 have that 20-foot property line from Jefferson Street. So both pieces of property would have the same front setback issues. And I think I guess if you didn't change the back property, well, that's where he's saying it's 27 feet to the right. And so if you had to go the 20-foot setback, then you really don't have a building envelope with a 20-foot rear setback. Or I'm sorry, the rear was also 20. They want to go from 20 to 5 and 20 to 2 in the front, 20 to 5 in the back. So I'm hearing concern about the height. I'm hearing general consensus on the setback. Are there other?
I have one, is that I hear about the height as well, but it's a encroachment of the height control plane. So what if we decide not to allow him this encroachment of the height control plane, he can still build a 4-story building. It just will be chopped. It'll be chopped in certain areas.
Does that mean that
and it might be it can be solved through design. Maybe that's where the outdoor terraces, I don't know, I haven't studied it that much, but I don't think this is going to prohibit him from building a 4-story building.
It just might mean that the porch is on the front instead of the back.
Yeah.
So you have a different, instead of a view of the city, you may have a view of the north.
Right.
Okay. Any from our architects, or you all?
Well, to Ms. Davis's point earlier, I mean, I could see supporting, maybe a 34-foot, start for that control plane to angle back. So it looks like their third floor goes right now up to about 33, 34 feet. So, I mean, I could see some encroachment of it, but I have a hard time kind of seeing that full 45-foot, I think they said, encroachment of the proposed plane.
So you want to toss those two things out as a motion?
I'll do my best. I'll make a motion that we approve the special exception for the setbacks, and that because it meets the requirements for a special exception on those, and that we approve a height control plane to start at 34 feet rather than the 45 that's asked for with this.
I'll second.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go.
No, go ahead.
No, you go.
Okay, I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and multiple
felt that was
seconds,
more
although I think Ms. Davis actually won the second.
Can I make suggest an amendment to that?
Yes, so for discussion and then a proposed, Mr. Pepper.
Right. The amendment I propose is planning is recommended to build sidewalks and the grass strips to the standards required by the major collector street plan, that we add that condition.
Is that acceptable?
Please, yep.
The motion maker and the seconder? All right, so that motion has been amended to require sidewalks and the grass strip to the standards required by the major and collector street plan as proposed by the planning department. Have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor of that motion say aye, raise your hand. Anyone opposed to that motion? That motion passes unanimously. Good luck. All right, next case, 58.
Next case is 2021-058, located at 811 Wedgwood Avenue. They're requesting a variance from the 2,500 square foot maximum allowable footprint for use as a veterinarian office within the CS district. They are proposing to use the existing 7,384 square foot building for use as a veterinarian's office.
Is the applicant here? Are you the applicant?
Applicant's
Yeah, if
here.
you would just come up and have a seat.
Here's an overview of the zoning for the parcel and surrounding areas. The site plan of the existing building and parking. Street view and the surrounding areas. The appellant may now state your name, address, and present your case.
Absolutely. Christopher Henderson, 983 Autumn Oaks Circle, Carterville, Tennessee. Mr. Chairman, board members, Mr. Cole, welcome. Thank you for the opportunity to come before you today. So the request for today is obviously a variance from the maximum allowable square footage for a veterinary office in the CS district. The building being 7,300, roughly 7,384 square feet. And the maximum allowable square footage for a veterinary hospital in that district is 2,500. So we're asking for a variance for us to be able to use this existing building to renovate for our veterinary purposes.
Okay, so you're the owner of the property, or you also are the vet or the owner of the veterinary clinic? Or?
No, sir. So I'm the chief operating officer for the pet hospitals that would be renovating this building.
Okay. And we had a case not too long ago where I think Blue Pearl was asking the same type of request, and I think that we may have to dig this up, but I thought that one of the only issues that we had was boarding. And do you plan to board animals here, or is that something other than sick animals that are there for treatment? Is there a nightly boarding component?
So I believe per the instructions under the code for veterinary use, our operation would board, but it would be our medical patients that are boarding with us. I believe there's a 30% square footage maximum that it would allow. So obviously within our footprint, it would not exceed that. It'd probably be well under that. But our boarding overnight would be for medical patients only,
Okay,
or our medical patients, if that makes sense.
okay.
Have you had any feedback from the community?
I have not. I did hear from the council member. He did respond to me that obviously he was in favor and support of the project.
Is that Councilmember Sledge? Is that
Yes,
his
sir.
district? Okay.
Yes, sir.
And can you remind us what type of animals will be taken care of here?
Dogs and cats.
Okay.
So we do not see exotics.
What has the building been used for in the past?
So I can't speak to prior to what is there right now on the 811 side. So it's 811, 813 is the combined addresses for the building. 811 was Soul Yoga, I believe. 813, the one that's on the beach side of the building, is Exit Realty.
Okay, do you know, I'm just looking at this aerial, and it looks like maybe, how many parking places do you have?
So the storefront on Wedgwood Avenue and then Beach would allow for 19 parking spaces.
So how many total?
19.
19.
And the adjacent property to, I guess that would be to the east of 811, the landlords are very close. And so the overflow parking right there, if you look on the northeast corner of the building, there's a concrete pad. There's an agreement in place for overflow parking, which I don't foresee us needing.
Is that a written agreement in place?
I believe so, between the two landlords, yes, sir.
And do you feel, how many vets will you have? That's a fairly big vet facility. I'm
It
guessing
is.
you're going to have 5 or 6 veterinarians probably?
Correct. So the initial plan to open up would be 2. The 5-year plan would be to hopefully grow and be at 6.
And do you think you'll have adequate parking if you consider the number of people that have cats and dogs now that bring them by? And
I believe so. The large, the normal visit time for our hospital is 30 to 45 minutes on a standard visit. Any excessive medical cases or extensive medical cases, we do usually require them to drop off. So they would limit the parking that we would need out front. So we do feel like the parking is adequate. And obviously we would try to maintain that agreement with the adjacent landowner.
How many visits do you typically have in it? If you had up to 6 veterinarians, how many visits do you think you have in a day?
So our typical appointment slots begin at 8 a.m. and will run till 6 p.m. or 5:30 being the latest appointment. Now allotted surgery times in there, marked off time for our doctors to see drop-off patients. A normal day, you may see 6 to 8 actual appointments in the exam rooms per day.
And how many exam rooms?
We'll have 9 exam rooms in this facility.
So you're looking 8 times 9, okay.
Where are you anticipating your employees parking? I'm looking at it, and I know that you discussed it a little bit, but I'm trying to get my head around it. Plus you're going to have animals in there. They're going to have to go outside.
Mm-hmm.
And not that there's a whole lot of concern about noises, and I am not going to be the anti-animal person this time, people, so please. But where are you anticipating? I mean, you've got 19 spots that you talked about on Beach, and if you've got 6 vets and support staff, I'm just mentally trying to get myself to that point, because you can't be in the back because you got your animals that are out walking around or doing whatever they do.
So currently, right now, there'll be no outside space. There'll be no dogs outside of this facility.
Or cats.
Or cats, yeah. Correct. No patients.
And we don't have to anticipate any llamas or mini horses or any of that stuff. Okay.
No llamas, no livestock of any kind, no, sir. our plan is to have, I do believe there is road parking accessible on beach, so obviously we would limit that as much as possible. But we do expect our staff to park on the west side of the building, on the beach side, and preserve the front Wedgewood storefront side for parking for our clients that are coming in and out. And again, that adjacent lot next to us.
If you have 6 veterinarians, how much staff do you anticipate total for that?
So normally we have 1 assistant per doctor, so it'd be another 6 cars, vehicles for that, and then 2 CSRs, meaning 2 support staffs up front.
So about 14 of those, if you're at full capacity, 14 of your spaces will be taken up by staff at that point.
14 to 16 is what we estimate, yes, sir. And I believe, I said 19, I do believe that it's actually, and I think I incorrectly spec, I do think it's 22 total parking spaces. I'm sorry. I'm looking at that map, and the parking was a big thing when we initially looked at this building.
Mr. Chairman, just on behalf of staff, in case it's helpful for the board's analysis, which seems pointedly focused on the parking question, this project will meet the zoning code's requirement for parking, or they'll seek a variance that can be met whether on property or through a shared parking agreement or an off-site parking agreement. But they will meet our requirements on that, just in case that helps the board in its deliberation.
All right, thank you.
Can I ask you a question while you're there? I don't recall the rationale in the zoning code as to why only 2,500 square feet are allowed for this use.
Far be it for me to speculate as to the rationale deployed by the illustrious members of the Metro Council in writing something like that, but I do believe that it is a criteria that dates back many years, probably even preceding the 1998 version of the zoning code, thus going all the way back to the 1974, when there were more veterinary clinics that did a bit of a full-service type of operation, including the now discriminated against llamas, per today's conversation, other livestock, and not just household pets like dogs and cats. So because of that, there was an idea, apparently, that nobody wanted it to be a great, big, huge operation, ergo the limitation on square feet, so that you didn't get as many of the country vet. I grew up in Dixon. I knew which vet to go to for the dog and which one people took their cattle to. And it was 2 different operations in 2 different places. Same concept.
So, Mr. Michael, so I can be clear, the parking requirements they have to meet, are they specific to a veterinary office, or what are they? My concern is if they might be specific to some kind of commercial use that may not have as much traffic. And while you're doing that, I'd like to ask the applicant, I can't tell from the overhead, are there residences close by? It looks like there might be, and there might be some street parking available.
There's plenty of residences to the south, but once you have to get a little further down Beach, which is the north-south cross street there on the west side of this property.
So is it a way away, the residences are?
It is. There's residents on the west side of Beach, and then let's go remember said southwest of the building. Everything north, everything, and then you get some multi-use residential once you go further east and north of the building. So there is some residential, but it is set back, and we pride ourselves in having a lot of our clinics that are in the Shelby County, Memphis area are close to residential. So we want to be as least disruptive as possible. We try to keep it very quiet, very clean. I grew up in the country. Don't make it smell like a livestock area. Be out of sight, out of mind almost to the people around you.
And Mr. Vice Chairman, to your specific question, yes, it is a land use veterinarian that's identified in the parking requirement table, 1 space per 300 feet, or within the UZO, which Ms. Minton may remember off the top of her head whether this is in the UZO. It's 1 space per 300 feet, just the same. But of course, the properties would be eligible for the reductions afforded under 17.20 of the zoning code for things like being on mass transit lines, the other criteria, up to a maximum of 25% reduction over whatever their overall number would be. Again, that applies not just to veterinarian, but any of those reductions could apply on any project.
Okay, thanks. Thank you very much.
Are there any other questions for the applicant at this point? All right. Did you have anything else to add?
No, absolutely. Just thank you for your time.
Mr. Lawless.
Absolutely.
If just ask one, are there any other veterinary clinics around this area?
There is a veterinary hospital to the southeast. And I apologize, I don't know the exact distance.
Is it it's probably within the 2,500 square feet that the requirement presently exists, or is it a big one?
I don't know. It's Berry.
Okay.
I believe it's Berry Hill Animal Hospital. I don't know the square footage.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, any other questions? Well, and nothing else to add? All right, we'll close
Yes,
the
sir.
public hearing. And thoughts? I mean, on its surface, it sure seems to be very similar to the request that Blue Pearl had asked on 21st Avenue, which I thought was pretty well received at that point by the neighbors and by this board. And I don't know of vets on 8th Avenue, but we've had at least one case that was a long-running case for a boarding facility. And as part of that case, we were made aware of another boarding facility that was a competitor that was just a couple blocks down the road. So we know that there are some fairly large boarding operations within the pretty near vicinity of this. So it doesn't seem uncommon, and it also seems a little bit different than the 21st Avenue case because they were actually doing a major renovation. In this case, it's an existing building that they just want to go into. So I don't have a problem with it as long as they meet the parking requirements, which is our zoning administrator made us aware that that's not before us. So we're assuming that they will meet those or they'll have to come back. Mr. Lawless?
I mean, we've got the testimony, there's not going to be any animals outside running around and making noise and being a general nuisance or smell or any of that type of stuff, which was a real issue in some of the other cases that we've had. And, I mean, using an existing building and having a large vet clinic, I prefer would you rather have me call it a clinic or would you rather have me call it a hospital?
I'm fine with whatever comes out naturally. It's fine.
Go take your dogs and cats and not your llamas and your what have you.
Can I make?
I mean, it just seems like they've thought it through and it makes perfect sense. I know that's hard for my architect buddy over here, so I'm.
Is that a motion, Mr. Lawless?
That's a motion that we approve the request as made based on the explanations satisfactory, and there's no other way to do it.
And so that would include the conditions that the boarding of animals is related to a medical need and that there be no outside play area without coming back to this board?
Coming back here.
Okay. So that's a motion. Is there a second? Second. There's a motion and a second by Mr. Pepper. Any other discussion? All in favor of that motion, say aye. Raise your hand. Aye. Anybody opposed? That motion passes. Wish you luck. All right, last case of the day.
The next case is case 2021-060, located at 204 Woodruff Street, requesting a variance from the 20-foot rear setback requirements. They're requesting a 5-foot rear setback within the MULA district for the proposed construction of a multifamily residential development. I don't see anyone here in opposition, so I'll go through the slides and then the appellant may state their name, address, and state their case. Here's an aerial overview of the zoning, the MULA property and the surrounding parcels. Aerial view. Here's the proposed site plan and a rendering of the facade facing the street. Existing conditions of the site and the surrounding areas. The appellant will now state your name, address, and present your case.
My name is Woody Bomar. My address is 4204 Kirtland Road, Nashville. I am a friend of the property owner whose name is Leslie Mitchell, and she's out of town, and so I'm here representing her today. Her plan is to build 10 short-term rentals on this property, and she needs the setback reduced to 5 feet, and because of the sewer easement, a 20-foot sewer easement, it makes the property very hard to use with the current 20-foot setback. The property on the rear side is an NES substation. And I believe there's a letter of endorsement that you probably have there from Councilperson Van Rees. Also a letter of endorsement from the chairman of the Music City Roots Barn, which is being constructed very close by. These are short-term rentals for tourists. They're Quonset hut styles. You can see the rendering there of the front when the others are all single units, but because of the need for the width, there's a double unit on the front there. I don't think I have any other information to offer.
Okay. I had to look up what a Quonset hut was. That is one thing that I'm sure the architects know. My architect partner knew.
These are 20 by 20, which is the approximate size of a hotel room. Not the one in the front, but the others are 20 by 20.
And now, but they're being, I guess it. But I guess that in our docket it says it's 10 single-family units, and so I'm assuming that even if it's the size of a hotel room, that it has to meet all of the criteria to be a single-family unit, which I guess would include a kitchen and whatever it takes to be considered a single-family unit, however big or small, it has to meet a single-family unit, not just a hotel room.
That's right. It'll be reviewed under International Residential Code standards and inspected by our building staff accordingly.
Okay. And so and again, before I go down that rabbit hole, that's not on our docket, right? So it's an assumption that we know will be made or enforced by the code staff, but it's not something that we necessarily need to discuss today. Is that fair enough? All right. Are there other questions from the board? Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, sir, I don't believe so.
Okay. Then I'll close the public hearing. Any thoughts or comments? We've got a plan for 10 units that has the endorsement of an active and council member who has expressed both support and concern about projects that we hear. So we know that Council Member Van Rees is certainly informed.
Well, it seems there's the 20-foot wide sewer easement that runs through the property that is the hardship. Another looks like a drainage ditch that was discussed as well. So it makes sense, the hardship makes sense that the applicant would be requesting that relief to have a 5-foot rear setback from an NES substation. So it's not from a neighboring property that's a home. So the request makes sense. There's a hardship. As an architect, I'm not all that thrilled with what I'm seeing. I guess I can throw that in there. I wish the existing home maybe would remain, but I know we're not here to debate that. So those are my comments.
Dick King used to be on this board, and he made that point many times. It's like, it may not be my personal taste, but we're not the board of taste or whatever. And I agree. And they're kind of canned ham. They might be kind of cool. They might be campy. They might be none of that. But that's not that. Again, that's not on the docket today, right? So, I get it. I get what you.
I hate to see existing.
You can't see the smile behind the mask.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Ms. Wallace, I'm sorry.
No, it's just, I just hate to see existing homes torn down, and maybe that wasn't the most beautiful bungalow, but I just still hate to see that. It's probably a usable home, but I know we're not here to discuss that.
Lisa, could you pop up the picture from the street for just a second? Bingo. I'm going to start mentioning my trees and things like that, because just in looking at your plan, your friend's plan, and I want to compliment you on being here for your friend. That was a very brave thing to do. a lot of building, concrete, asphalt, and not much green. And that obviously concerns me a little bit. I can't tell what type of trees those are, but you got an awful lot of power lines.
I think there is on one of the plans, it does show some landscaping is required, right? I think on this plan, it does show some landscaping and.
It does show an existing magnolia tree.
We know how NES likes to chop down trees every opportunity they get. So.
Well, thankfully, the existing magnolia is right in the middle of the property. So hopefully it'll.
I don't think they recognize much in terms of that stuff, but, no, I'm not going to micromanage the plan. I just don't think that's my job today.
All right, any other thoughts or a motion? Thoughts or a motion?
Okay, I will move to approve the variance request based on the hardship of the 20-foot easement that runs through the property.
And I'll second that.
Have a motion, have a second. Any discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye, raise your hand. Anyone opposed to the motion? Are you opposed or?
I'm voting in favor.
In favor, okay, I'm sorry. I jumped the gun and said opposed before the end went down. So that passes unanimously, and we wish you good luck.
Thank you.
I think.
I just want to compliment the chair. I mean, this is 2 meetings in a row, but the sun will still be up.
Well, that it's good. It's a little after 2, and I think we'll shoot for that as continued goals. But I think for some reason, with everything going on in Nashville, I think we're going to have payback before too long. But
Well, I'm not going to give you all the credit.
We're done.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.